Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self-love, self-care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. Today we have a special guest, author, entrepreneur, life coach Shimesha Brown with us. I'm Lady Bounce.
I'm Kryptonite.
All right, so you want to start us off with our mindfulness minute?
I sure shall.
Okay.
Start off. Okay. Ends and beginnings. I realize that however good my analytic skills, I will have to live into an uncertain future. I do not put my trust in the prevailing power structures, but I take refuge within the calm center of my being. It can be so easy to get discouraged with all of the bad news out there. Ooh, jeez. Ooh. Sometimes I feel as though the world is falling apart, but it must have felt that way to the ancient Romans as well, and the Greeks before that, and the Mycenaeans. Woo,
Right.
that's a word. Okay, the Mycenaeans before that. But I will say that for all those people that they talking about, where they talking about it must have felt that way for them, are they here now? It went down. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Civilizations rise and fall. They are just as impertinent as anything else in existence. Why should our time be any different? Right. The corruption that we see, the degradation of the environment, the warped priorities are all signs of decline. But every end contains a beginning, a chance to start over. The future, by definition, is uncertain. You may catch yourself today trying to guess what will happen in politics or in technology. This one is speaking to me today, I'm telling you. Let go of this future watching for the time being. Concentrate on the here and now, on this inner space that arises before the mind. Take shelter here, knowing that whatever happens, you will still be able to retreat within and concentrate on the breath.
I like it.
Yeah, you kind of gotta, it was cool. That last part kind of, concentrate on the breath. I've never heard that one before.
So you're on your
No,
breathing.
I get
Right.
it. No, I get it, and I get that they're saying be in the here and the now.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a different way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
I just hadn't heard that before. But all right.
All right. So, Miss Shimesha, would you like to tell us a little bit about your book first? I'm excited about your book, though. I like books.
Thank you.
I want to read a book.
Yeah,
So
I
proud
can,
of you.
Thanks. Yeah, I can tell a little bit about my book. I am writing a book with 8 other females, and it's a book about life lessons and healing trauma. Yeah, I'm personally writing about generalization,
Generational?
Yeah, generational sexual abuse. Yeah, because I was sexually abused, and so was my mother and my grandmother. And now I have a daughter, so I'm breaking that curse, that cycle.
Right.
So how did the idea come up for you and the other ladies to get together to collaborate on this project?
Well, we're doing this book with our publisher, Warrior Storytelling, and she basically created this group for us.
Okay. Where's she located? Is she located here, or is this like...
She's in Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so like through her, she just kind of knew you all, or did you all reach out to her? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, she has like a group on Facebook, and she has like a big following, and she just posted that she's doing this project. She does it every few years.
Oh,
she does
okay.
co-author books, and
Wow.
she kind of just pieced us all together in our group. She did like she made a post wanting to know who was like interested, and a few people reached out, and she just kind of put us all together.
We
So-
might need to be in the book.
Who?
Me and you. I got something to say. Not that book, maybe a different book. About life lessons
Oh, you
and stuff.
just saying we should write a book. I'm gonna
we-
stop talking. Look,
We should. I like
I'm
books.
traumatized enough. Don't be.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna sit down.
No, you are right. So the other ladies that are you're in collaboration with, do you all like speak regularly? Do y'all share notes? Do y'all correspond with each other at all?
Yeah, we actually have like monthly meetups where we all video chat in and we
that's
go
cool.
over like homework assignments or just
Wow. This is exciting.
yeah. It's a pretty knit group, and we all have like our own personal group together where we all share and
You kind of like developed a sisterhood through this process with these women.
yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm all about reaching across the board with things. I like that, being able, I think the internet in its, whatever, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm just saying that what I do like about the use of the internet is that how it enables people from different backgrounds, different demographics, different places to just be able to come to one spot and to be able to just connect with each other. Because I think it's dope that if I develop a friendship with somebody in Paris, I got a couch to sleep on if I decide to go one day. Because all I can afford is the plane ticket. Yeah. I can't afford the hotel. I need a ride and everything. Y'all picking me up?
I'm sorry. I was just thinking about that. Like, yeah, it would be dope.
It would be dope. I'm telling you, it's dope.
Can I just come over? So that's amazing. So growing up as a survivor of sexual abuse, did you know that your mother and your grandmother were both victims?
No, I never knew.
Wow.
Like, even after I came out about being abused, it was still like, I really never knew. I still, like, to this day, I don't fully know my mother's story because it's so hard for her to talk about it.
Right.
But, I know it happened.
So with this being a generational situation and all you ladies being in the same family, was it the same perpetrator?
No, it was all different perpetrators.
Now, as your daughter is young, so as she grows, what are some things that you're thinking about, to tell her either about your story or about her being strong enough to protect herself, in some ways? Is that something that you fear for your daughter?
At first, when I first had my daughter, I was just like, I can't let anybody watch her. I gotta have my eyes on her at all times. She can never be out my sight. But there's little things that you can incorporate into her upbringing that will help protect her. Like, in my opinion, like, a kid knows where their butt is. A kid knows where their belly is. You can teach them where their private is. And you could tell them this is a no-no spot or your private area.
Right.
Nobody should touch this.
I like that. Like, safe touches. And I remember I had to go to a training about that, about safe touches, good and bad touches, because I am a teacher. So as an educator, that's something that they're really big on, especially when working with younger children, because they don't have that filter. They're very loving and they're very affectionate, and so sometimes they don't know that you can't hug everybody or you can't give everybody a kiss on the cheek. So definitely good trainings that I've been to about that, good and bad touches and safe spots and stuff like that, because as a mother, I definitely made sure that I talked to my daughter about that stuff. And some of it, she shares with her friends and they listen. But, kids are hard-headed. Teenagers are. Some of it I think is getting in and getting through, but I definitely, telling her different things so that she can be mindful of, everybody's not your friend and everybody's not worthy of a hug and, stuff like that. That's good though.
And that's one thing that I also tell her, like, the power of no. Like, you don't, like, if your kid doesn't want to give their grandmother a hug, don't make them.
Yes.
Or their grandpa a hug, don't make them. If they don't want to sit on their lap, that they have the right to say, I don't want to sit on your lap, or I don't want to give you a kiss. They can say that.
I like that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was just going to ask you, with usually in situations, and it's my assumption, so let me ask, when you went through your abuse, you said it was child abuse, so you were very young, I take it, at that time. So was this a situation with a family member or a family friend? Because oftentimes we do tell our children, like what you're saying about touches and not wanting to hug and kiss anybody, but when it's uncle such and such, or what I'm saying, auntie so and so, that's uncle, that's auntie, and yeah, this might be an issue, but they still uncle, auntie. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people, I have found that a lot of people that have gone through sexual abuse, I guess you can say it's like a different setting. You know what I mean? Like, because they're one way in front of everybody. So they still talk to the uncle, they still talk to the auntie. And of course, you know, once they get along with this person, it goes down in a different way. So yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, like, when you went through that, was it with a family member? And then how did that really play out over the years?
I was sexually abused at 11.
Ah.
And my sexual abuse didn't stop until I was 13, and I was pregnant. And then that was my way of telling my mom that I was sexually abused. So my uncle sexually abused me. He was I lived with my grandparents growing up, and he lived there. So shortly after my grandmother died, I took over her room, and I used to sleep in her room with her. And then after she died, I stayed in her room alone. And you know, he just seized the opportunity, I guess, and I was just there alone, and he was in the house too. So it was like, and he lived in the household. So
Right.
yeah.
Wow.
That's just really hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To even to think about. Because I'm pretty sure at 11, you're like, what is really happening here? So, was your mother in the house at all?
My mom was. I grew up with my grandparents. My mom wasn't really. My mom was kind of in and out of my life growing up. Her and my dad was. It was just me, my grandmother, and my grandpa. And my grandpa was the type of person that had a million kids at his house. He loved all his grandkids. They all can come over and stay as long as they want. So I was always at my grandparents' house.
Did you attempt? Because in the setting like what you're describing, I'm only guessing, but I can only imagine that it would be hard to find someone to tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like, and I talk about it more in my book. It wasn't just like I woke up one day and he sexually abused me.
Right.
He put out fillers, like he would touch me inappropriately, and then he would stop, and then he would just be like, oh, you can't tell anyone, make sure you never tell anyone, or I'm gonna get in trouble. You don't want me to get in trouble, do you? And of course, me being like, no, that's my uncle, I love him, I don't want him to get in trouble.
Right.
So,
and did you, at the time, had you known what it was that was happening, or you just know it didn't feel right?
No, I didn't have no idea what sex was. Nobody ever had the sex talk with me. I lost my virginity before I started my period. So I didn't even have like the menstruals talk or anything.
I am quite surprised at how many parents in our generation do not have that talk with their children. They don't talk. They really don't have the talk about sex. They don't have the talk about menstrual cycles. I found that I'm bewildered by that. I really don't get how that. I mean, not with us, not with our generation.
Right.
My generation for sure. You know what I mean? Because that's not the first time I have heard that from someone. You know, so I just don't understand why parents
sex
don't
has
have
always
that
been.
conversation.
It's always been one of those. Don't do it. As opposed
And
to
no question.
Right.
Just
Right.
Don't ask. Don't do it.
And if you, I don't know, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. But America's really the only place that goes down. Every
Right.
other country is like they kind of have an open vocabulary when it comes to sex.
It's not taboo. It's just
Yeah, it's just something that happens in life. But it's really interesting how through the course of history, you know what I'm saying, American society really puts this kind of taboo, like, oh, sex, don't do it, oh, it's not, you know, they make it dirty, they make it nasty, but it's a human function,
Right.
you know what I mean? Not one that should be performed on a child,
Right.
but not one that should be shunned away and locked behind the door until one day you're either forced to open it, or you know what I'm saying, or somebody lets you, you know, it's just, that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't to me. And then I was thinking, as a parent of a current teenager and working with teenagers all day, because those kinds of conversations are not being had, they are overly obsessed with it. Like they run to
Right.
it because nobody's giving them like good information. It's,
Yeah. And if all you get is don't do it, well, what teenager sits and listens to that?
well, and I don't even know for like when I'm thinking about the kids that I work with, their parents aren't even telling them don't do it. A lot of their parents are just either not around or they're so busy working or they're living their best life themselves that you think that sex is one of those things that it takes care of itself. Like, oh, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I really do think a lot of people really
But they're not
think
gonna
that
figure it
way.
out.
So let me ask you, your daughter's how old now?
She's 2.
She's 2. Okay, so, well, are you currently in a relationship?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so how do you approach that? Like, do you let that be known when you have decided to, when you find a significant other? Is this something that you divulge like immediately? Do you wait? Because something like that is traumatizing, and I can only imagine that would affect your intimacy level with the person.
Yeah.
So is that like something that you let people know right off the rip so that they are aware of how they need to take care of you and approach you? Or is that something that you hold back on? You know, you don't tell everybody for whatever reason.
Well, if I'm getting into a relationship or I'm starting to get to know someone, and if any point they're getting ready to meet my daughter, I feel like they must know. Because they're going to be around my daughter and they're going to have whatever influence they have over her life. So at that point of introducing them, they should already know my history and my past and what went on. And I also set up healthy boundaries with my daughter. Anybody that they know, they don't take my daughter to the bathroom. They don't change her diaper. You come get me. That's not something you need to do. So I make it known. So it would never be a me catching them and them I don't know. It's like I already told you.
Right.
Okay.
And like speaking on sex, like I had a friend, her son is 7 or 8, and she went through his tablet and found out he was watching porn. And she was like, how did you even know what porn was? She was so like sad. Like, how do you know about this
Listen,
stuff?
that's the thing. When my children were small, I had already made it a point that we was gonna talk about it because kids talk about it. Just because we not talking about it, that don't mean they not talking about it. Kids talk. Look, think about when you was in school. Didn't you talk about it?
They talk about it at home with their friend, at school with their friends.
Right? They
They
talk.
gonna learn about it regardless.
Talk about it all the time, but it's natural though. Like it's not. This is the things that they do. What's the matter?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking when you said it's natural, I'm like,
Yeah. No, it
really?
is. Listen, it is. These are the things that they do. You're going to touch your body before you touch someone else's.
Right.
If you happen to come across something that feel pretty good, you might stay there a while. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's something that we should be telling our children to. It's okay to explore your body and know what you like and know how you feel, but it's not okay for you to do this, that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If we talk to them about it, what they're feeling, what they're doing, then it's going to be easier for them to come and talk to you about it when someone else is doing it to them. So I've always talked to, when my kids hit elementary school, I'm not even going to lie. When they hit elementary school, I was talking to them about it because I already knew kids gonna talk about it, and especially inner city children.
right.
Yeah.
They're exposed to way too much to try and show. And I used to worry about that I was exposing my children to too much, but what I don't expose them to, the world is going. So
Right.
I'd rather tell them something with an explanation versus them not know and get caught up in something. But I'm gonna shut up now because that's just me. I'll go off on a tangent about some stuff.
So when you became pregnant at 13, how did your mom handle that?
Well, let's see. Well, she kind of just like, she just asked me like, "Are you having sex?" And I'm like, "No." And she's, she just kept asking me, and she was like, "Well." Then I go into the whole detail of the whole conversation with my mom, but I denied it, and I just denied it and denied it. And I'm like, no, I'm not having sex, until one day she was just like, lift up your shirt.
Wow.
did you know what was going on? Like, because you were 11, no one talked to you about what it was before it happened. So did you even know that that's what it was that you were doing?
I had a clue, like I thought I knew what sex was. Like I knew, you know what it is, until like you actually do it. But you know, like I had an idea of what it was, but I didn't exactly know. All I knew was what he told me. I'm not supposed to tell anybody about it. I didn't know it was wrong, what we were doing. I just knew it was a secret.
Gotcha.
So, and being on the other side of it now and being a victor as opposed to a victim, and you are a survivor, can you tell us some ways that you are healing? Like, how are you healing with it?
One of the ways that was very therapeutic to me was writing. I just wrote whatever came to mind. I just wrote about it, and I didn't know it was going to turn into a book, but it did turn into a book. Counseling.
Yes.
When I was younger, my mom asked me. She asked me, like, "Do you want to go to counseling?" And I told her no, of course not. I never wanted to talk about it ever again.
Right.
But I feel like she should have just like kind of told me I was going instead of giving me the option to choose.
And so, how long were you in therapy? Did you actually go get some on your own?
Yeah, I didn't start going to therapy until I was 19.
Okay.
And then I took a break from it, but now I still go to therapy this day. I don't even feel like, even if you have nothing going on, I feel like therapy helps you.
Oh, absolutely.
That's another reason why I want to get up on stage and go to comedy. I got a captive audience. I can tell people my problems and get paid for it. But that's just me talking. So my question is, after your mother found out everything and who was involved, did anything happen to him?
There was some court procedures. I was actually molested by two of my uncles.
Oh, wow.
So one of my uncles actually went to prison because the DNA test confirmed. But the other one, he's still out. He's still walking around saying he never did it. He will never do it.
Wow. That's deep.
It is.
I'm like really processing that. That's deep.
So do you still see this individual?
I have seen him as an adult. There would be plenty of times where I would go to family functions and he would be there. And I would have to tell my family, like, you can't invite both of us. You have to choose. Either invite me or invite him. Right. You know, and once I made that clear, I stopped seeing him at the family events. But before then, every time they invited me out, he would be there.
How did your family react to that? Like, to the situation with both your uncles? How did your family take that? And then how did they absorb that?
It was a lot of mixed emotions. Like, the stuff that happens in social media really happens in your own family too.
Yeah.
With certain people saying he didn't do it. Certain people believing that happens right at home. My mom was day one, she believed me. But it was tough. A few family members were kind of like, "Oh, that didn't happen," or "I don't think that happened." To this day, a few more, like his family, like his sisters and his brothers and stuff like that. They're like, "I don't believe it happened." But
so let me ask you: this was not your mother's brother?
this was my dad's brother.
Oh, okay.
And
were both of them your dad's brother?
No, one was my dad's brother, and the other was my aunt boyfriend, baby daddy. My aunt baby daddy.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so he wasn't like really uncle. Not that makes a difference. I'm just saying
he wasn't blood, but
Yeah.
you know, my mom trusted me to be around him.
Right,
You know, I used to
right.
go over his house with my cousin.
So the person that is in jail, is he the one that's blood relative or no?
He's not blood relative.
And I suppose that really made a difference in a lot of people's eyes too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he might have did it, but he didn't. You know, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's deep.
It is, because it's like, I don't understand how people can tell a 13-year-old she's lying
Right.
about her you know what I mean, about her situation.
Right.
Like, why would anybody think that somebody would just make that up, and why would you think that?
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't think that. Being who I am and how I am, if my daughter brought me something like that, I would instantly go into like probably hyper vigilant mode. Like, somebody's about to die. Just I'm going to jail. I'm calling my family, get the bail money ready. You know, it's a wrap, because that's my daughter. Like, my job, my goal, my duty is to protect her from things that happen to me, things that happen to people that I know. So I would I'd be on TV. You'd be like, dang, Lady Bounce in jail. I'm going to her bail party. So put some money on my books, because I'm going to jail. And even my son, you know, we don't, you know, talk too much about boys, but if something happened to my son, I'm gonna catch a case. It's just a wrap.
Understood.
All right, so let's move on to our self-care assignment as we celebrated you being on the other side. So we're going to celebrate new beginnings. A new beginning is a wonderful gift. Unfortunately, that gift has to come out of a difficult period in our lives, such as divorce, losing a job, or abuse. Some people prefer to use that time for personal reflection and would like to move on by themselves. For others, those can be a system of people who care about them. If nothing else, send your friend some flowers to show that you are thinking about her, that you care, and that you are there to support her. Some people might be open to a party to celebrate a new beginning. No matter how exactly you celebrate, recognizing new beginnings can be a useful, even fun way of closing the door on one chapter and getting ready to open another.
Sounds good.
I like it. So, of course, as always, you know, there's brain science for everything.
Brains, hit us with it.
So I'm going to hit you with this brain science right here real quick. All right. So we know that trauma affects our bodies and our brains, emotional abuse, physical abuse, especially as you continue to relive those traumas in your brain. I'm going to give you some ways to not keep reliving the trauma, which I'm sure you've learned in therapy and the therapeutic writings that you've done and the other women around you. So here are some tips for healing and recovering your brain from trauma. It is important for a person who is currently experiencing or who has ever experienced emotional abuse to know that the abuse is never your fault. In some cases, a partner may be using emotional or physical abuse to prevent the person from leaving or seeking help. So here are some recovery tips. Get adequate rest, eat a balanced diet, become physically active, exercise, reaching out for help from family, friends, or a health professional, reaching out socially to others such as friends or coworkers, and volunteering. Emotional and physical abuse is never the fault of the person experiencing it. It can cause both long-term and short-term consequences for people subjected to it. Children who have been subjected to emotional abuse or sexual abuse may continue to feel its effects into adulthood, and these effects include extremely low self-esteem, seeking bad relationships, and other physical or mental effects. That is so true. So, seek counseling, heal, work on yourself, fly with us, which is to always first love yourself. We thank you for coming to join us today and telling your story. I can't wait for the book. So when your book launches, you have to make sure you tag us in it on Facebook so we can share it everywhere.
Yes, thank you.
So
Thank you for coming and joining us today. We really appreciate it. Getting out there, getting your name out there, getting our name out there, talking about some really relevant topics that really affect all of us. So
right,
we
and
really
helping people
appreciate it.
heal. That's the biggest thing is if your story helps just one woman, that one woman is going to touch 1 million people. Yeah. So that in itself is amazing. All right, I'm Lady Bounce.
I'm Kryptonite, and this is Shimesha Brown, y'all.
And we out of here.
All right.